ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्याधिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवी सरस्वतीं चैव ततो जयमुदीरये। Jai Gurudev. I start from Shloka 39. Is that Brahmaraji? I think she's not there. Anyway, I read from Shloka 39. Avrutam jnanametena ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च। Kaunteya, O Arjuna, Jnaninaha of the wise, Nityavairina by the constant enemy, Kamarupena, whose form is desire, Cha and Dushpurena, insatiable, Etena, Analena, by this fire, Jnanam, knowledge, Avrutam is covered. Knowledge is covered by this, O Arjuna, the insatiable fire of desire, the constant enemy of the wise. The word this idam, used in preceding verse, refers to knowledge, jnana. Here, this knowledge is said to be covered by the enemy in the form of kama, kama rupena, just as the fire, mirror, and the fetus are covered by the smoke, dust, and womb, respectively. And by what kind of kamas is knowledge covered? By the kamas that are difficult to fulfill, tushpurena, the impossible to satiate, analena, anala means fire. Fire is never satiated. The more fuel you offer it, the more it wants. All its tongues are out, demanding more. Therefore, fire is called anala. Like fire, desire also has no satiability. So it is referred to here as anala. There is no such a thing as fulfilling all your desires, so that after retirement, there will be none remaining. There is no such a thing as last desire, the last dregs of all one's desires. At no time can you say that you have only 5 remaining desires, and that if you just fulfill these 5, everything will be perfect. Just you will be Purna, limitless. All desires flow from our sense of limitation. Desires themselves are born out of apurnatva, one sense of being limited. Every desire is an expression of this sense of limitation. This sense is like a perpetual spring from which all desires flow. New desires will keep flowing to the surface. Even if you have no particular desire at given point of time, the buddhi will say, you are not even capable of desiring. In the face of this new condemnation, you will again feel limited and desire to be free of the limitation. I think someone is unmuted. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. The adjective Nitya Vairina, meaning by the permanent enemy, indicates that karma is permanent. Shankara provides an excellent commentary on the word Nitya Vairini. Nitya Vairi. Knowledge can be covered by desire, even for one who is mature and knows what is to be done and not to be done. This desire is difficult to fulfill and is both insatiable and inimical to those who are discriminative. And why is this enemy described as permanent? Shankara goes on to say that even before the desire comes, the person is karya akarya viveki, knows what is to be done and not to be done. But this knowing what is proper and improper does not mean that the person will act accordingly. Even the discriminative person, knowing a particular desire is not good for him or her, may still try to fulfill it because the desire can be more powerful than the wisdom of discrimination. Because the person knows both before and after that a given desire is not for one's well-being. Desire is referred to as a permanent enemy, Nitya Vairi, of the discriminating people. One who is not discriminating knows only later that the binding desire is useless. Whereas at the time of desiring, the person thinks that to act on this particular desire will be wonderful. It seems to be the right thing to do. For example, a person who wants to make a killing on the stock market may say, I have a new scheme and I am going to make it work. In 1 month's time, you will see how great my plan is. But after the time has passed, all there is to see that the person is broke. I should have thought it over, the person will say. I never thought of the possibility of loss. Only later, only later is there the discovery that the desire was costly.
Rina,
Manana,
can you just read the first line one more time of this para?
yeah, sure. One who is not discriminating knows only later that the binding desire is useless. So the person who is discriminating or who is not discriminating knows only later. That means I think discriminating knows it before also, later also. But who is not discriminating knows only afterwards.
Yeah.
One who is not discriminating knows only later that the binding desire is useless. Whereas at the time of desiring, the person thinks that to act on this particular desire will be wonderful. It seems to be the right thing to do. For example, a person who wants to make a killing on the stock market may say, I have a new scheme and I am going to make it work. In 1 month's time, you will see how great my plan is. But after the time has passed, all there is to see is that the person is broke. I should have thought it over, the person will say. I never thought of possibility of loss. Only later is there a discovery that the desire was costly, anartha, and also that it was the cause of the person's subsequent problems, and that it was the cause of the person's subsequent problems. If I had not been greedy, I would not have become involved in this mess. So Shankara says that karma is nitya vairi for the discriminative because it is a consistent enemy. Before and after acting, they know what the desire will not, sorry. Before and after acting, they know that the desire will not benefit them in any way. Whereas for the non discriminating, karma appears to be an enemy only after they have acted. The action not producing the benefits they had expected. Arjuna wanted to know who or what impelled people to perform improper action. And because Arjuna also wanted to know how to be free of that which impelled improper action, Krishna told him how to deal with this karma. Should I read it again? Because so Shankara says that karma is nitya vairi for the discriminative because it is a consistent enemy. Before and after acting, they know that the desire will not benefit them in any way. Whereas for the non discriminating, karma appears to be an enemy only after they have acted. The action not producing the benefit they had expected. Arjuna wanted to know who and what impelled people to perform improper actions. And because Arjuna also wanted to know how to be free of that which impelled improper action, Krishna told him how to deal with this karma. Indriyani mano buddhihi asyaadhishthanamuchyate eter vimohayattesha jnanamavritya dehinam. Indriyani, senses, manaha, mind, buddhihi, intellect, asya, its adhishthanam, adhishthanam, location, uchyate, is said, eshaha, this, etaihi, with these, jnanam, wisdom, avrutya, covering, dehinam, person, vimohayati, deludes. Its location is said to be the its location is said to be the senses, mind, and intellect. With these, it eludes the person by covering his or her wisdom. Krishna had told Arjuna that karma alone impels a person to perform actions he or she knows to be improper. Excuse me. Sorry for that. Krishna had told Arjuna that karma alone impels person to perform actions he or she knows to be improper. A desire can be so powerful that the means employed to fulfill it is not even questioned by the person. Whenever a particular end is very important to you, you can always compromise the means because all desire is for an end only, not for the means. Actions are usually only improper with reference to the means used for gaining a desired end. The end is very rarely wrong, whereas means are often compromised because the end is so very important to the person. In some cases, both the means and the ends are wrong. I'll read this again. Actions are usually only improper with reference to the means used for gaining a desired end. The end is very rarely wrong, whereas the means are often compromised because the end is so very important to the person. In some cases, both the means and the ends are wrong. The villain in all of this is not a force outside yourself, nor is it yourself. It is karma, desire. The self itself is harmless. In fact, it is clean, Shuddha. Nor can the body do anything right or wrong. It is only a place, a location. So too, the mind and the senses are not harmful. Karma alone is what creates the havoc. But karma is only inimical when it is binding in nature. Thus, with reference to various ends, karma is located in various places in terms of physical locations, perceptions, and experiences. Knowing where knowing where desire is located makes it possible to do something about it. This is similar to how the police deals with thieves and other criminals. Investigation agencies keep records on habitual thieves based on certain repetitive patterns of behavior. So, some thieves enter only through windows and others open doors in certain way. Some thieves pick up only certain things and leave everything else untouched. Each thief knows the place in which he or she can operate safely, meaning with less chance of being caught. Thus, criminals tend to be habitual offenders in two ways: in the types of offenses they commit and how they commit them. All that is required to catch them is to discover their patterns, how they operate, where they spend their time, and so on. Atma is free of desire. Similarly, when the place that one's enemy, desire, operates from is known, karma is easy to manage and take care of. Where then is this karma located? It is not in the Satchit Ananda Atma, although Satchit Ananda Atma is in the karma. Without the Atma, there is no want, no desire, no condition of the mind whatsoever. Whatever the condition, pain or pleasure, Atma is there. But karma is not in Atma. If you look into the self, there is no want therein. It is always clean, untouched by anything, but without bringing about any material change in the object. The Atma joins everything. If Atma itself had attributes, gunas, its joining with a thought would result in a mixture, a compound. A desire would therefore not be a discrete desire. It would be colored by Atma, which is not the case. Atma itself, not having any attributes, lends its existence, Sat, the consciousness, Chit, to anything obtaining in the mind. Therefore, Atma is said to be free from want, kama. The body, mind, and senses also do not have wants as such. but the wants involve all these locations. Almost all the karmas, the wants are with reference to sense objects. And without the senses, these objects are not known and therefore do not become objects of desire. Naturally, then the senses become the basis, adhisthana, for the desires to arise in the mind. Therefore, the senses are said to be the adhisthana of kama. Through the senses, desires can also be fulfilled. Without the mind, manas, there is no want. Thus, mind is also the location, adhisthana for kama. The manas is the one that creates the fancies that are beginning of kama. Because the decision with the reference to the fulfillment of want takes place in the buddhi, the intellect. The buddhi too is said to be the adhisthana for desire. Thus, with reference to kama, the manas, the buddhi, and the senses are places of operation as it were. When one's kama is very powerful, it robs away the person's very wisdom, jnana. It dilutes the person. In terms of earlier acquired wisdom, the person is as though blindfolded by his or her desire and is taken for a ride. This ride can be very long one also because when you wake up, you find yourself elsewhere with all the damage already done. This is karma. The removal of delusion. What can you do about the delusion of desire? With regard to your mind, buddhi, and senses, the places where karma operates, be careful. Exercise your capacity to curtail or stop the senses whenever you want something that does not benefit you. Any sense pursuit can be stopped just short of overt expression, as in eating, for example. One can always say enough, even when from inside the desire keeps saying, come on, have a little more. To stop a sense pursuit at level of the senses is called dhamma. To stop a sense pursuit at the level of senses is called dhamma. We have seen that one has no control over the wants that arise in one's head because of one's nature. You cannot say, I want to avoid this want because you cannot avoid it. Your desires do not need to be controlled, in fact. Your prakriti, your nature is your entire past, the remote past, and the immediate past. All of which can give rise to a certain type of thinking and certain wants. Your likes and dislikes just happen. You cannot do anything about them. What you can do, however, is to keep a certain distance between yourself and your likes and dislikes. In other words, you need not deliver yourself to them. This is what is called shama. Thus, there are two disciplines, dhamma and shama. With reference to kama, although you need not worry about what you think, what you desire, it is also not to your advantage to do whatever you want based on your desires alone. I'll read this again. Thus, there are two disciplines, dhamma and shama, with reference to kama. Although you need not worry about what you think, what you desire, it is also not to your advantage to do whatever you want based on your desires alone. Therefore, do not fall prey to your simple fancies and wants. Always look into yourself and see what is proper. Is it feasible, necessary, and useful to fulfill a particular desire? Is it proper? There may not be anything wrong with the desire. It may be quite legitimate, but not at all necessary. Or it may be feasible to fulfill the desire. You may be able to buy something that you want, but you do not need it. Therefore, why buy it? It may be useful, but is it necessary to have this particular object? Instead of simply buying it, consider first how useful it is in terms of your priorities. Having weighed all the factors, you can then go with the desire or not to go with it. This deliberation is Shama. And if having gone along with the desire, you find that you want more and more, you then say, no, thus far and no further. This is where you require Dhamma, which can be practiced daily, whenever you feel like having another helping of food. Only when you practice Shama and Dhamma, you can manage your wants. Otherwise, they will manage you and make a mess of your life. Therefore, taking various factors into account, go with your desires, but do not let them make your decision for you. You manage your desires in this way. You need to be very alert, as Krishna points out in the next verse.
So deliberation and managing the desires at the level of the mind is Shama, and having a say on your senses is Dhamma.
Can you please say that again?
No, managing your desires at the level of the mind, deliberation, whether you really want to do it or not to do it, whether it's useful, is it a priority, all that deliberation that happens at the level of the mind is Shama. Whereas having a say on your senses, like you're watching something and you want to continue watching it, having a say on putting a stop to that watching is Dhamma at the level of the sight. Similarly, at the level of taste, the level of hearing, at the level of touch, of smell, all of this. So if you're able to put a stop, having a say on on your desires at the level of the senses, that is Dhamma. So in a way, Shama actually includes Dhamma as well. Dhamma is more like a subset of Shama.
Would you like to take over, Brahmanaji?
If there is any difficulty, let me know. I have no problem. I will continue. Yeah. Only thing is, I'm not sure about the internet connectivity. Let me go closer to the router.
Yeah, we can take over from Shloka 41.
Yeah, 1 second. Just let me know if at all it is shaking or the internet is not stable. Tasmat tvamindriyanyadau niyamya bharatarshapha papmanam prajahihyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Bharatarshabha, prominent among the descendants of Bharata, Arjuna. Tasmat, therefore, tvam, you, Adav, at the onset, Indriyani, sense organs, Niyamya, controlling, he, indeed, Enam, this, Jnana Vijnana Nashanam, the destroyer of knowledge and wisdom, Papmanam, sinner,
prajahi, destroyed. Oh, I think you will have to, yeah, will you be able to share the screen? Okay. Therefore, O Arjuna, controlling the senses at the outset, destroy indeed the sinner, the destroyer of knowledge and wisdom. In this verse, Krishna told Arjuna to destroy his karma, which had turned into krodha and had robbed him of his wisdom, which in turn would make him a sinner, a papma. The karma was to be destroyed in terms of giving it up, as Shankara makes it very clear in his commentary. Giving up the want, not going with it, is the practice of Shama. If you do not go with the wants as they arise, they will not continue to come up indefinitely. If someone keeps calling you and each time the person says hello, you put down the phone, how long will he or she keep calling? Here too, if you do not go with the wants, they will go because there is no one to support them. In this way, whatever karma that is there becomes meaningless. As long as I have a distance between myself and my ragas and dveshas, I can decide to go with them or not to go with them. Let them be there. They need not affect me at all. This is the beauty of what is being said here. We are not trying to eliminate the wants. We only want to maintain enough distance or space, to use the American expression, so that we can you'll have to lift it up. Renal, will you be able to share screen or shall I share screen? Yeah. So that we can form varieties of experiences. I think.
Sorry,
No,
where did you stop? Sorry, I was little.
yeah, you have to go down a little bit. Go.
Okay.
Not down, I mean up.
Okay. Is
I
this
have
okay?
no, a little more, little more.
Okay.
Previous
Sorry, I
tab.
was a little distracted.
No problem. Yeah, that this is fine. So we only want to maintain enough distance. So it is said that we don't need to eliminate the wants, because the wants are based on our prakriti. It's not eliminating them, it is only keeping a distance. We only want to maintain enough distance or space, to use the American expression, so that we can decide either to go with the want or not to go with it. This is real space, freedom, and is also the practice of Shama. Why is karma called a papma, a sinner here? Because it robs you of your knowledge and wisdom. It is a jnana vijnana nashana. We refer to the people who rob us of our money as criminals, but such petty thieves cannot rob us of our knowledge, the greatest wealth we have gathered. Money can always be gathered again, but because knowledge is not as easily gathered, it is considered to be our greatest treasure. Knowledge is something that is gathered, garnered, gleaned over a long period of time from varieties of experiences. To take away such a treasure, therefore, is a great sin. Thus, karma is called a papma. A person who robs you of your money is not a papi. This term is reserved for that which robs you of your real treasure, your knowledge and discriminative power. Karma. Knowledge, jnana, can also be taken here to mean the wisdom that leads to vijnana, the knowledge of realities. The one who is a destroyer of this jnana and vijnana is definitely a papi, sinner-like, a criminal, in other words. Krishna told Arjuna to give up karma first by practicing dhamma and then by practicing shama. This is why people practice silence, mauna, for a length of time, for an hour, 2 hours, in the morning, and so on. People make these small vows all the time. The sadhus also practice certain disciplines, such as not talking or not eating on certain days. These practices of Dhamma lead to Shama, the capacity to sort out your wants and go with what you want. Further, Krishna said, Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhyah param manaha manasastu para buddhihi yo buddhe paratastu saha. Indriyani, senses, parani, superior, ahuhu, they say, indriyebhyaha, to the sense organs, param, superior, manaha, mind, manasaha, to the mind, buddhihi, intellect, para, superior, buddhehi, parataha, tu yaha. Whereas the one who is superior to the intellect, saha, is he, atma. I'll just read this whole thing. Can you just bring the Pratipadartha once? I'll form it as a sentence. Indriyani parani ahuhu indriyebhyah param manaha manasaha tu buddhihi para buddhehe parataha tu yaha saha. They say that the sense organs are superior to the body. The mind is superior to the sense organ. The intellect is superior to the mind, whereas the one who is superior to the intellect is he, the Atma. When Arjuna asked his question about what or who it was that impelled a person to perform improper actions, Duryodhana was standing right in front of him. Duryodhana knew that what he was doing was wrong. Arjuna knew this. These two men had grown up together, had been raised in the same way, and had the same teachers. Besides, right and wrong do not require to be taught. Duryodhana knew what was right and wrong, but still he did what he did because of karma. Because of karma alone, or because of anger, which is karma in another form, a person does things that are not to be done. Anger is not something separate from karma. It is a modification, parinama, of your own expectation, your own desire. Where there is no expectation, there is no anger at all. If you expect certain things to happen and they do not happen, karma can turn into anger. And if you are not ready to accept what faces you, because karma transforms itself into anger in this way, Lord Krishna said, this desire is this anger. Kama esha, krodha eshaha. Karma can express as want, passion, and anger, Krishna said. And because this karma covers your wisdom, it deludes you. It takes you for a ride. However, when you do not want a particular pursuit based on desire to go any further, when you are convinced that it has gone far enough, you should be able to stop it, to pull down the shutters on it. This dictating factor here is your wisdom, your understanding, and not your fancies. Discover the distance between yourself and your desires. Krishna was not asking to suppress or repress your desires. He said that to attempt to control likes and dislikes does not serve any useful purpose because the mind has its own ways, but you need not be swayed by them. In this way, your likes and dislikes will be no problem to you. Since your desires are located in the senses, mind, and intellect, you have complete mastery over them by discovering a distance between yourself and your likes and dislikes. You cannot stay in the mind itself and have mastery over it. The more you go inside, the more reasons you find for why you are the way you are. This exploration may provide you with a certain understanding, but it cannot remove the reason, which is the problem psychology is faced with. Some understanding, some validation, and so on is useful, no doubt. But if you're always stuck with the same problem, What is the use of this kind of understanding? How can you deal with the problem? How can you master such a mind? I'll just read this para one more time. You cannot stay in the mind itself and have mastery over it. The more you go inside, the more reasons you find for why you are the way you are. This explanation may provide you with a certain understanding, but it cannot remove the reason, which is the problem psychology is faced with. Some understanding, some validation, and so on is useful, no doubt. But if you're always stuck with the same problem, what is the use of this kind of understanding? How can you deal with the problem? How can you master such a mind? To address this concern, Krishna said here that you have to go one step further. You must be yourself so that you can manage your mind. In this way, you will be able to take care of all your raga dveshas, all your kamas. You can take care of your raga dveshas or kamas only when you are able to step outside of the kamas. If you want to weigh something, for example, you cannot be inside of that which you are weighing. If I recall correctly, Newton was supposed to have said, if only I could be somewhere a little away from the earth, then I would be able to weigh the earth. Similarly, how can you fix up your mind when you are in the very midst of its mess? If you manage to solve one problem, another will only pop up in its place. If you discover, for example, that all your problems are due to your mother, what do you do? What do you have then? You have the problem of having had this mother. Then you will ask, why did I have this mother? Why didn't I have a better mother? Why did my mother behave like this? Nothing comes of this in that you are left with the same problem. In spite of the benefit of some validation, some understanding, the problem itself does not really go away. This is what keeps people going to therapists. And once they begin to go, the going itself becomes yet another addiction. It becomes something that must be done. Thus, although some help may come from the therapy, another problem has definitely been created. Ultimately, in order to deal with a problem, you have to step out of it, which is not to discount the usefulness of therapy as such. All that is being said is that you cannot really deal with psychological problems within samsara unless you step out of it. And how do you step out of samsara? Arjuna already had one foot out, it seemed. By planning to go to Rishikesh as a sannyasi, he thought that he would be stepping out of samsara. But this is stepping in, not out. Stepping out does not imply any external change. All that is implied is a situational change in terms of one's understanding, wherein the distance between one's desires, one's likes and dislikes is discovered. Only then can the mind be mastered.
Can we discuss this in Manana session? Manana time?
Yeah, we'll do this. The order involved in mastering the mind. Whatever we master is always mastered from another standpoint, which implies a particular order. Krishna was addressing this order here when he told Arjuna that those who know say that the senses are superior. So say the wise. Indriyani parani ahuhu panditaha. The word superior, of course, implies comparison, and thus the question, superior to what? To the physical body is the response. The senses indriyani are superior to the physical body, which is a part of an individual, a jiva. They are superior because they have the capacity to objectify the body. Like, for example, the body is made up of all the organs. So the liver, for instance, is part of the body, but the senses, the five senses, are superior to the liver. So to say, I'm just giving an example. Same with the kidney. Although they do their job, they do not go outwardly to gain an experience or pick up the stimuli from the senses, from the world out there. So the senses therefore are superior to the physical body, which is a part of an individual, a jiva. They are superior because they have the capacity to objectify the body. The eyes and other senses can objectify the body. And this is another reason they can see the body. We can see our body as an object. Another reason that the senses are said to be superior to the body is because they are subtler in nature. Being subtle, the senses have pervasiveness, vyapakatva. For example, the body remains on the ground, whereas the eyes can go to the stars. To do anything at all, the body has to move, whereas the sense of sight, by simply opening the eyes, has already gone to the stars. Thus, the eyes and other senses are more pervasive than the physical body. The superiority of the senses is further established by the fact that they are inside the physical body in the form of the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. Then the verse goes on to say that the mind is superior to the sense organs. Indriyebhyah param manaha, because the mind can go where the senses cannot. For example, the mind alone can go to heaven. It can also suffer an imagined hell, which is something that the senses cannot do. Also, the mind is the one in whose hands the senses are. Without the mind, there is no sense perception at all. Thus, the mind is definitely superior to the senses. It has access to regions where the senses have no scope. The mind's accessibility and the dependence of the sense organs on the mind definitely makes the mind superior, according to those who know. Again, with reference to the mind, the intellect is said to be superior, manasastu parabuddhi, because the buddhi is able to dismiss a doubt of the mind with proper understanding. Buddhi includes your will also. Doubting and vacillation are the mind. Once there is resolve, which is buddhi, there is no more vacillation. You cannot say you have both resolve and vacillation at the same time. Once the resolve is there, the vacillating mind, the doubting mind goes away. Thus, the buddhi is definitely superior to the mind. Desire is destroyed by recognizing you are limitless. The mind and buddhi are the places wherein karma moves. The karmas are located right here. The difference between the mind and buddhi is only with reference to the types of vritti that take place there. We have seen how the desire located in the mind can be so powerful that it can take the buddhi along with it. Therefore, in order to really deal with your desires, you have to step outside of them. Then you can see exactly where the karma is hiding. This is why Krishna went on to say that the one who is above the buddhi is Atma, yourself. Yaha tu buddhehi paratah saha paramatma. What Krishna meant here is that in order to take care of the karmas, you have to recognize yourself as the Paramatma. Even though he said to practice Dhamma and Shama, you have also to see that you are not the buddhi, the mind, or the senses. You are the Paramatma, the limitless. Once you are awake to this fact, the enemy, karma, is no more a problem. This then is how you deal with karma drastically and finally. When you are free from any sense of limitation, there is no enemy, and the wants you may have become harmless, mere privileges, in fact. Your mind is there, and you have the privilege of desiring. Desiring is a privilege only when you do not need to fulfill any desire in order to be secure and happy. Should we do the last shloka as well? Lastly, Krishna said, Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanamatmana jahi shatrum mahabaho Kamarupam durasadam. Mahabaho, O mighty armed Arjuna, evam in this way, buddhehe to the intellect, param superior, buddhva knowing, atmana by the self, buddhi, atmanam the mind, samstabhya having made steady, kama rupam in the form of want, durasadam difficult to understand, shatrum enemy, jahi destroy. Oh Arjuna, I'll just read. Just can you take the Pratipadartha one more time? Yeah. Mahabaho evam buddhehe param buddhva atmana atmanam samstabhya kamarupam durasadam shatrum jahi. In the previous verse, Krishna revealed the fact that which is above the buddhi, because of which the buddhi is illumined, is the Paramatma. And because a mastered mind is required to know this Paramatma, Krishna concluded the chapter here by summing up what is to be done to destroy Kama. The senses and the mind are in the hands of the buddhi alone because the buddhi is superior to them. Therefore, the buddhi is their master. The buddhi, meaning one's viveka, discrimination, steadies the mind and senses. Therefore, he said, Atmanam, Atmana samstabhya shatrum jahi. Here, Krishna told Arjuna that he should destroy the enemy in the form of desire. Kama rupa shatrum jahi. By knowing that which is above the buddhi, buddhehe param buddhva. To destroy an enemy inside of oneself, to destroy an enemy outside of oneself is relatively easy, especially for Arjuna, who had so many special missiles at his disposal. But to destroy this inner enemy, Kama, requires tact, maturity, dispassion, and understanding. To indicate that Arjuna had these resources, Krishna addressed Arjuna as Mahabaho, one who is mighty armed. The enemy in the form of want is an only expression of ignorance. Ignorance being the mother of karma and its brood, anger, jealousy, fear, and so on. Therefore, to destroy the enemy, one must destroy ignorance, which can only be done through jnana, knowledge. This enemy is said to be durasada, here, that which is very difficult to understand. It would seem that desires should be very easy to understand since they just appear. But this is not the case because every desire has a desire behind it. There is always a reason for liking something, and there is a reason for the reason. Therefore, there is no end to the desires that are there, all of which is to be understood. Only when karma makes you suffer by its presence are you a samsari, a sufferer. With knowledge, you can enjoy the presence of a karma. Even if you are surprised by it, you can also be amused. You can either go with it or you need not go with it. When you step outside of your desires in this way, in terms of knowledge, all your desires becomes privileges for you. Thus, whether you are a karma yogi or a sannyasi, there is no other way of dealing with karma except through jnana. What better way for Krishna to have made this point than to conclude this chapter entitled Karma with Jnana, the only true conqueror of the enemy of desire. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Yogo Nama Tritiyodhyayaha. I think we'll do the meaning of Om. How many paras is this, Rinal? Can you just check the meaning of? I think we will leave the meaning of Om to later for tomorrow, I guess. It's just a few, but then I think the train of thought right now is about how to deal with karma. No?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do Manana on that, and then time permitting, we'll take up the Om.
Okay.
So yesterday we did uh, the shloka which talks of Dhumena vriyate vannihi yatha darsho malena cha yathol benavrito garbha tatha tenedam avritam. So this knowledge is covered just like how fire is covered by smoke. He was giving different grades of desires. Then and dust which covers a mirror is covered by dust, and then finally a fetus that is covered by the womb. So just like how these are difficult to see, similarly knowledge is covered by the ignorance and in the form of this desire. And based on, I think, the intensity of the desire, there are some desires that just require a little blowing away of the smoke. A little bit of discrimination is enough, little viveka is enough. But whereas those that require some effort also, you need to put in some shama and dama to take care of the desire. That is like removing the dust from the mirror. Whereas there are other desires that actually take more time. It's not just your discrimination, effort, also it is time, they're time bound in the form of a womb, in the form of the fetus. So maybe we can all give examples of these kind of desires. No? So because unless we understand the desire, we will not be able to also handle it. That is why kama is called a nitya vairi. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nitya vairina. The first shloka that we started today. Like, for instance, I think when you're eating, in order for you to say no to the second helping of a gulab jamun is like the dhume na vriyate vannihi. It's just like blowing away the fire, the smoke from the fire. It does not require a lot of discrimination. Persiji had mentioned this time and again that he does not even get the desire. There are sweets out there, and he does not even have the desire to eat them. Whereas for a person who likes sweets, it requires a little bit of effort to hold himself back from eating that jamun. Correct? And then for the example, for time and effort, I don't know what example that Swamiji had given. Maybe all these addictions might require someone who's addicted to, say, smoking or to drinking. And we ourselves, forget about smokers and alcoholics. We ourselves, when we have some patterned way of living, unless we behave in that way, we are not we are not satisfied. So getting out of those patterned behaviors, I think, would come under the last category of desires.
Uh, I just mentioned when we were reading that we will discuss. I couldn't get the paragraph over there. It's
That was
it was getting out of mind. You can think rationally. This is what it meant. I mean,
in order to, yeah. So in order to take care of these desires, the only way you can, because these desires arise in the mind, and these desires are born of your prakriti. There is no way you have any say on them, right? Except that you have to step out of the mind in order to deal with them.
does that mean you become just aware of these things? Is that so?
Yeah, that is where Swamiji was talking of creating a space between the desire and you. So you create a distance between your desires. You are aware of them, number one, and you, uh, with viveka, with discrimination, you then decide, is it a priority right now? That is where you're creating. Viveka helps you create that distance, that gap between you and the desire. It is not like in the animals where they just, if for instance it's a dog, the dog um, wants to bark, and there's a reason to bark, he just barks. There is no discrimination. There may be a baby sleeping in the house. Oh, if I bark, the baby will wake up. There's no such discrimination for a dog. Whereas for a human being, we have this given this capacity of viveka. So therefore, you use your viveka to create that distance. I think that is what is meant by stepping out of. I think that paragraph was before this. I think, Mrinal. It was when when he was talking of Shama and Dhamma. Shama is where you deliberate in your mind and uh, understand whether that desire is really required or not to be fulfilled. Creating that space, that is Shama.
Yeah, this is, you cannot stay in the mind itself and have mastery over it.
Correct. That is what we say, no? You cannot use the mind to control the mind. That is why we use the breath. That is what is that is what is used in the happiness program. So
For me, like what worked was that Gurudev said do sadhana first thing in the morning. So Gurudev said it means you must do it. Like so, shut off your own mind and operate from the big mind. That was what worked. And then later came the knowledge. Like if Gurudev talked about knowledge in the part one course, food, sleep, breath. So that food ka topic came in. So then scientifically applying that knowledge to what Gurudev said and how important it was to get the mind discipline. So whether it is related to sadhana or it's related to food, Gurudev said, sattvic food. So that kind of a thing, like shut out your own mind and operate from the big mind. Gurudev has said it, so do it. That was how, that was my approach. And it worked for me. Like morning, first thing I have to do my sadhana. Even if I have to catch Gitanjali at 6 in the morning, I'll get up at 3:30. I'll have my bath and then from 4 o'clock onwards, you can do your sadhana. So I do it and then I catch the train.
That you are doing it because you have total faith in Guruji, isn't it? But when it comes to other people who may not have so much of faith in these scriptures or some guru, then how how to strengthen the faith? Can we strengthen the faith?
Leave them to their own, everybody has to discover their own path and walk it. It's a thin line. One has to cross over at one point. Like I have seen teachers, like I told you when I was working on the Konkan belt, we used to stop for a cup of tea. Drivers require a lot of tea while driving at night. And then in the evening time at sunset, all these Batata Vada people and all that are there. I would restrict myself from eating and they would indulge in it. That's okay. I mean, leave each to his own. Maybe his stomach can tolerate it. I I don't know. I just don't want it. Maybe he needs it. I don't. Each will progress in his own path, in his own way. Like, why impose our will on others? A point of time will come when they will also come to this level of discipline. Shama, Dhamma, to what level you can get it into your control is up to you. Some people in this cold season cannot get up in the morning. And like Dr. Brahmra, every day she is there at 5 o'clock in the morning, ready to start the session. So the level of discipline you have will differ from person to person. And each person is growing. Leave them to grow at their own pace. I just said what made me progress. Like Gurudev ने बोला है तो करने का है. That's all. Gurudev has gone to the extent of saying that even the planetary configuration will not affect you if you are doing a Padma Sadhana regularly. And if you see in all this VTP or whether it is TTC, you are doing 3 rounds early in the morning. Then again you may be repeating in the evening. So all these 3 and 5 rounds which you do, even in Siam we were doing so many rounds. So maybe it is why are we having that high level of energy in all these courses? Is because of this. Why are they so charged up, all the TTC candidates, the VTP candidates? Maybe Padma Sadhana is doing it. I don't know. Gurudev has just said that you do it, and it even your planetary configuration, you are much stronger than the planetary configuration. So the impact of that would be lessened with Padma Sadhana. And Gurudev has said it, so just do it now. And then whatever I read into and all the scientific backing that I get because of taking corporate courses, I'm interested in that, being from the pharma world. So I read up a lot on that. And then that makes it stronger that whatever Gurudev said is so right. Like, and then Shamadama and all these 6 wells are all under your control. Jai Gurudev.
So thank you, Percy ji, for sharing that. Uh, uh, sadhana, of course, helps you create this space, makes you more and more aware. Because otherwise, whatever thought comes up in your mind, whatever desire comes up in your mind, when you contrast a person who's doing sadhana to a person who's not doing sadhana, where a person who's not doing sadhana might just act upon his desire. Whereas a person who's doing sadhana has got this capacity of awareness and therefore of discrimination. He's able to think, look at the flow of thoughts in his mind, the desires that come up, and is able to, with knowledge, with discrimination, decide, do I really need it or do I not need it? Also, as a side effect, as a positive side effect of practicing yoga and Sudarshan Kriya, meditation, any form of yoga for that matter, it has been research proven that it alters um, your your likes. For instance, if you go to the supermarket, instead of buying going to the junk department wherein you have all these chips and all these fryums and things like that, you would want to eat and buy for yourself food which is rich in prana, like fruits and vegetables and things like that. This has been research proven. So it alters your tastes as well, alters the way you look at yourself. So all that happens at a very subtle level. So all these are very deeply interlinked. So therefore, you cannot have complete mastery over them by staying in the mind. You have to do something. So the more you go inside, and that is what psychotherapists do. What they do, they go inside and find reasons for why you are the way you are. But this exploration may give you some understanding of who you are, what you are, but the problem remains. How do you get out of the problem? It is like the example that was given. If you discover that you know that your mother is the way she is, it's not like the way you want her to be, or there is some problem with your mother. The more you understand about your mother, that is not going to help solve the problem. Your mother remains with you. That is what he gave as an example, right? So you cannot take care of your raga dveshas as long as you're in the mind. So can you go up this page a little bit, Mrinal? I know,
Yes,
Dr. Renu,
yeah.
I've seen your questions. We'll come to
Okay,
that in a
okay.
minute. Yeah.
Uh, Which paragraph you want to read? Kamala?
Just one more. Just go. Don't know. Should I go say down or up? I don't. Yeah.
This just let me know, huh, where you want to stop.
Yeah. I think it was before this. Yeah. I think it doesn't matter, Mrinal. I think that's
Okay.
fine. I think so. So the way to take care of our karma is by exercising shama and dama. And in order to develop shama, there is an element of sadhana that's required. It doesn't just happen like that. Hari Om Nana.
And even this has been so nicely explained.
Indriyani Paranya. See, that
Mhm.
is why, see, Gurudev so many times says in all his speeches, if you've listened, he talks of um, how do you handle the mind? You cannot handle the mind from the level of the mind. Shama also is an element of the mind, isn't it? How do you develop shama? You cannot just develop shama like that, but using your breath, you can. And that is why he brings in the aspect of the breath. Pranayama, darshan kriya, all these are so important in helping us handle our mind.
That is where even the five pranas, the notes which I sent,
Yeah,
it was
I think
so
we'll do that
important. Like,
tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow, Persiji. We'll do the prana tomorrow.
okay. Just seeing how these pranas work inside our body and how diseases are caused, ailments are caused in the body. And just by concentrating on the breath, how we can get relief from all these ailments, how the level of the ailments can be reduced. There are no shortcuts. You got to do your warm up, you got to do your Padma Sadhana, you got to do your Kriya. And the five
Yeah.
pranas will be aligned. And then everything, it works at the level of the mind also. No?
So there is, which is true, which is very true. So there is a question that Dr. Renu has asked. Is getting more and more spiritual knowledge also a desire?
Yes, I will agree with her that to become more knowledgeable is also a desire. But at the same time, it is like this: ke, do you want to be a pandit sort of a thing, giving sermonizing, or are you going to use this knowledge to your advantage? So, like in our times, we were never pushed. We did the basic course, and then Guruji says, take them through an advanced course. So that is the time when you get your first deep rest when you are doing your advanced course. Like you're literally doing nothing, like barring the morning seva that is assigned to you, which you willingly do along with the sadhana, then you're fully meditating for the full day. So you're getting deep, deep, deep rest. Like so that was the way we were told to take people through also our course participants. First the basic course, then the advanced. And a lot of times I found that when teachers have pushed from basic course into say a DSN course, and some people have moved away because ego was at play. They could not handle what was being said. There's a lot of ego bashing. So probably they could not. And then they moved away from the art of living, a lot of people. So that procedure which Gurudev told us to follow, it was, and we never pushed people into anything. Not like today, okay, it's target oriented or you have to get so many. It was never like that. So like we did it and numbers happened because our mind was not on targets or anything. And the second thing is, even if the 5 course points are there, how many of us are applying the 5 course points in the part one course in our daily life? Nidhi Dhyasa is the, as you call it. I learned this word only after coming to Bhagavad Gita. But putting, implementing, that is what I was doing. And that is what we all need to do. Going on reading and becoming pandits is not part of our goal. But implementing that knowledge into daily life is important. You can stop. I don't have so much of knowledge with me. But what little I just correlate it, put it to my advantage to benefit on this path, to grow more in spirituality. Putting into practice is very important. Going from one Bhagavad Gita to Astavakra Gita to Patanjali Yoga Sutras will make you a pandit. Yes, you'll be able to speak scholastically. But how much of it do you really put it into practice is important. Then all this thought processes come. How can you be useful to society? What can you do more for society? How can you bring a smile on everybody's face? Like Gurudev, see his yearly calendar, how much he's traveling at his age. People are still talking about pandemic and wanting to hold Zoom classes only. I think there is another new manual being prepared in the ashram where we'll be going back to the 6 day courses and all that and all offline. So I think that is being prepared now. I heard about it. And Gurudev is going to come up with a new happiness course manual again. So probably all that will happen. We need to calm down, slow down, like he said in the Sayam course at some point of time. Jai Gurudev.
No, thank you for that lovely sharing. Of course, jnana alone is not, uh, while I completely agree with Percy G, but wanting to know more in this spiritual knowledge is actually not so much of a desire that you should curb. It is, of course, not to just get the bookish knowledge. That is not what I'm meaning. Guruji says, Vairagya you can have for everything else, but do not have Vairagya, dispassion um, for the soul, for the self. That is the only passion you hold on to, and that is the mumukshutva. So, in order to aid you in your mumukshutva and on your path, this desire to know more about our scriptures, I think is not a no, it's not a bad desire to have. It is a desire, suppose you should hold on to. Although, like what Percy G said, it's not just important for us to just complete finishing. Okay, I finished this, I finished that, but how much of the Gita has gone through you? It is not how many times you've gone through the Gita, like Swami Chinmayananda says. How much of the Gita has actually gone through? Even if you're able to apply 1% of what we have learned, when one shloka we are able to apply correctly, then that will be meaningful. Then it does not matter. Then you can continue to have this desire to read more, to gain more. That's fine, but not without putting it into practice, like Percy G very rightly said.
Astrology part over here. When your Atma Karaka is Jupiter, then you have a lot of desire to gain knowledge.
Mm. And what Percy G's talked about Padma Sadhana and planetary positions is very, very true. It makes you rock solid. It is that when you're doing a Padma Sadhana, it makes you so strong. Planetary effect will be there, no doubt. That is inevitable. But it will not unsettle you. That is why it is said you will not be affected. So that is why a bad phase, according to astrology, is actually a boon for a sadhak. Because
Absolutely, I do agree with this, but then you know my condition, and I was so regular with sadhana and all. I don't want to discourage anyone from doing it, but if at all you have to go through some karma, come what may, you have to go through it. maybe the effect will be lessened. But I was very regular with sadhana. I mean, in fact, I was online. We were taking regular morning daily sadhana. It was there, but I had to go through this. At certain time, I couldn't even sit down, so I had to stop all of this. And I took this as a part of, I have to go through karma, this karma, and maybe I'll get back to routine again. But what gave me is a very strong mind where I could stay centered. Definitely, meditations I kept continuing, but Padma Sadhana I could not do.
Mm,
Uh, that's only because I had to go through this karma. No
correct.
one can take it away from you.
Mm,
See, Gurudev himself has said that if you are having hernia, then the forward bending asanas you don't do. So all that Gurudev has said, if you have a slip disc, L3, L4 disc collapse or something like that, backward bending you don't do. So he has already said that when you are going through a certain tapasya period, don't indulge in those asanas at all. You can leave them out. And the rest which you can do, you can do. So during that period of tapasya, I have been through two hernia, this thing operations. So okay, I've been through a kidney stone. Then now I'm at 70, I'm going to go through cataract. So like, okay, whenever that happens, and if I can't do Bhastrika at that point of time for 2, 3 days, it's okay. I may not be able to do Padma Sadhana after cataract for 7 to 10 days. They tell you not to bend down and all that. So that is okay. That is your period of tapasya. You can do more of mudra pranayam. You can do your nadi sodhan pranayam. Even so, for blood pressure patients, Gurudev says, na, they may not do Bhastrika, they may do Nadi Sodhan during the time Bhastrika is going on. It will have a better effect on BP patients doing Nadi Sodhan. So you have to, Gurudev has said all this. So during tapasya, don't indulge in that. Fine, that's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I haven't read your article on pranas, but definitely it works because uh, there were imbalances in my this vayu tattva in my body, because of that the problem started. Mostly it is your pitta and vata which create problems in your body. And I had gone for paragliding, and it went on for half an hour to 40 minutes, which was supposed to be 10 minutes because they didn't find the proper direction to get on the ground. I was there for 40 minutes in the air, and that created havoc in my body. So I'm really looking forward to reading with you people.
yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do the Om, the significance of Om, and we'll look up Percy G's notes on prana. So, concluding this, the indriyas, the senses, are more powerful than, are more superior than the body because they are more subtle and they are linked to the karna sharira. And the body cannot travel distances, but the eyes can take you up to the stars. That is why they are more pervasive. They have the vyapakatva. The mind is more powerful than the senses because without the mind, the senses have no capacity. For a comatose person, his senses have no use because he is not able to perceive through his mind. The intellect is more powerful than the mind because it is the seat of discrimination. It is the deciding factor. And then beyond the buddhi is the self that is all powerful. Therefore, Krishna says, know that self. When you, with that knowledge of the self, you are able to then very effortlessly take care of your karma. The last concluding verse is Papmanam. Can you just go up? Yeah. Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kama Rupam Durasadam. Yeah. Evam Buddhe Param Buddhva. So knowing that is above, beyond the buddhi, samstabhyatmanamatmanam, having steadied the mind, jahi shatrum mahabahu kamarupam durasadam. So therefore, knowledge again is the you know is the last step, so to say, of even the karma yoga.
Can you repeat what you said, please? I just missed out the
No,
first
no,
word.
jnana. See, he says ultimately jnana is the last, is the ultimate step, even for karma yogis. So, using this knowledge, that knowledge of the self, you are able to uh, destroy this kama rupam durasadam, the shatru that is in the form of kama, in the form of desire, and that which is difficult to understand. Evam buddhe param buddha. So knowing that which is beyond the buddhi, which is nothing but the self, destroy this enemy, which is difficult to destroy. Kama is also nitya vairi, and it's like anala. The moment you satisfy one desire, another crops up. So it is unending. It is like a bottomless pit.
So what Persiji said makes very much sense over here. Going beyond your own buddhi, listen to Guru.
Mm, correct.
Yeah, one more thing is like when we talk about Atma and we call it the self, just link it also to self-discipline. And somebody came up to me in Pune. I was at Triveni Ashram for just one day in between. We are having a Gurudev's visit in Maharashtra for a whole month, like Gurudev is traveling all over Maharashtra. So all our three advanced course teachers, we had gone there to Triveni Ashram. And somebody came up to me and said, he had done an advanced course with me about 12 years back. And he said, I remember still your sentence. You said, मैं शासन नहीं लागू करूंगा, अनुशासन करना पड़ेगा. Anusashan means self-discipline. So whether it is self-discipline in food, whether it is in a sadhana, if we inculcate all this as the foundation will be so strong, like our roots will be so strong. So in everything that we do, that self word linked with discipline, anusashan, it meant a lot to that person who remembered it after 12 years and came and told me on stage that you had told me this. Couple of people came and they remembered some one or two sentences which I had said somewhere. I didn't even think them to be so important, but they recollected it after 12 years and told me that it made such a difference to my life. Like, so that self-discipline is the first thing that we, rather than bothering about what others are doing, at what pace they are growing, it is about us, our growth. And then how we can uplift them, give them a finger, give them our hand, stretch out our hand, and then bring them out. Whatever we can do to do that. Discipline, even in speech, like everything, like this self-discipline, I find is like it just become a way of life, sort of. Jai Gurudev.
Very beautiful. And this is also in line with what Krishna had told Arjuna. Do not, the wise should not unsettle the mind of others who are steeped in the samsara. Let them be. But you continue to do what you're doing. You said be a role model for them. Inspire them with your behavior. And I think that is what we all should. All of this, what we're doing is to look within ourselves and see how we can improve. That is why Bhagavad Gita is a moksha shastra. It is not dharma shastra. It is not about saying what is right, what is wrong. That all of us know, it is common sense. But how much of inner purification is happening? How much are we improving ourselves? How much of this knowledge are we applying to our own lives? I think that is what is important. So, having done the Shravana, and also done a bit of Manana, it is very important that we do Nididhyasana. For that, I would just suggest this is as a suggestion, maybe or we can do this. If we can chant the chapter 3 now with this understanding, then that those shlokas will be as a tool for our Nididhyasana. So when we talk of dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate, we understand how that desire crops up. We keep thinking about an object and that is there in our mind. And then attachment develops to the object. And then once you're attached, you want to possess it. And if there is anything that comes in the way of possessing it, anger comes. And when anger comes, how all the delusion happens. So all this happens. So then that nididhyasana automatically happens. And little by little, Shanaihi, we are able to uh, develop that Shama, Dhamma, and slowly those raga dveshas will start thinning down, and that antakarna shuddhi happens for knowledge to dawn. Yeah. So I think we can, if anybody else wants to share, can share. Otherwise, we can wind up here. I think.
I'll just share one thing.
Yeah.
Yesterday also we had a meeting and we are having a
Mm.
couple of projects going on right now. One is Yoga Se Hoga. Like some who are very fit, who are yoga instructors, they have done their international yoga certification. They are taking yoga in the gardens and all that. They're in community halls, etc. Then there is Gargar Dhyan program that is going on, where we go to societies, they have a community hall, we take meditation for them. And then like now it's at a level like we senior teachers are moving in the field, giving intro talks to unknown people in say gardens and all that. So like when the new teachers and the new volunteers see, oh, sir is also coming with us and doing this kind of seva, it has a lot of impact on them. And probably like, some of us has it. Now we have volunteers, now we have teachers, they will organize course and give us. No, working at the grassroots level is so much fun. Going and talking to unknown people in a garden, telling them about Gurudev's visit and talking about having a mini intro talk kind of a thing. So I just, there are so many teachers I just shared that for this Bhakti Ki Leher program where Gurudev is coming for 1 month, a lot of activities are happening. It's become vibrant Maharashtra all over again.
Very beautiful.
Some
Yeah.
there are about some 350, 360 courses announced, and they're still
Mm.
growing.
Mm. That's wonderful.
And those people who had gone on leave, like teachers who had gone on leave, we are calling them back. We are organizing courses and telling them to take it. Like,
Right. In fact, Gurudev is coming to Hyderabad today. There's an
yeah,
event in the evening.
uh,
Uh, it's about an hour from where we stay. Um, I'm planning to get in touch with one of the volunteers who lives close by. Mentally, I've decided maybe I will not go, but I want to check whether it's available on the television because there's going to be a lot of crowd, and I didn't want to be a risk for Amma and Nana after having gone there.
okay.
So let me see what best can be done. But I'm very happy that his energies are around here now today. He's coming in the evening. Mm, right.
It's how we are connected. The minute you said he's coming to Hyderabad, I don't know how I'm connected to you, but I felt that happiness, that you will be meeting as good as I'm meeting him.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's it. So maybe we can wind up here today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.